Hola, this is Leon Scott here from the wonderful state of Goa. Goa being a former Portuguese colony, today I'm going to be teaching you how to make the very famous Portuguese peri-peri chicken. There are different pronunciations: peri-peri, piri-piri, pili-pili. Basically, peri-peri is Swahili for pepper. And just as there are different pronunciations, there are different territories that lay claim to the authenticity of the recipe. My recipe leans heavily towards the Portuguese style, but I have picked up a couple of tricks from Nandos. You see, the Nandos sauce itself has the ingredients listed at the back. So I did a little bit of cheating there. I did not use all the ingredients because their ingredients, being a commercial product, their ingredients are also governed by economics. So I like, for instance, I swiped out the sunflower oil for olive oil. It gives a much better flavor profile. Now, the trick basically that I've used from Nandos is I have taken a lemon and I have boiled it for an hour. And that gives it a very pickling kind of effect, and that removes any of the bitterness from the rind. So one boiled lime and an onion, that's the tricks that I have picked up from Nandos. The rest is a very Portuguese style, and let's just go over the rest of the ingredients. All the ingredients are important, but there are two main star heavyweights of this. The first being the peri-peri chilies. Here in Goa, the farmers call this the atom bomb. In the market, it's just regular peri-peri chilies. And the other being the bay leaf. Those of you that are familiar with Portuguese cooking will know that bay leaf is a very key component in their cuisine. The other ingredients that we will be using here are the sweet chilies. If you do not have sweet chilies, you can use jalapenos. What I have done is I have deseeded and destemmed them, so that will remove any pungency from these chilies, because the only pungency I want are from the peri-peri chilies. I've used about 10 sweet chilies and 10 peri-peri chilies. If you want to reduce the pungency, you can reduce the number of peri-peri chilies. You can also remove the seeds from half of the peri-peri chilies, and that will reduce the pungency. Also, you can also just remember this, that the vinegar that we'll be using will also cut the pungency. And when you taste the peri-peri sauce, what may seem pungent, just remember, once you cook it with the chicken, a lot of the pungency will be lost. The other ingredients is 1 onion, the boiled pickled lime, garlic cloves, juice and zest of a lemon, rosemary, thyme, cayenne pepper, smoked paprika, peppercorn, rock salt. You can also use regular salt, but I prefer rock salt. It gives it a much better flavor profile. Gin. The actual recipe calls for either brandy or whiskey, but I prefer gin. Olive oil and red wine vinegar. You can also use apple cider vinegar. Both are good, but both have very different flavor profiles, and both the vinegars will give a different flavor profile to the overall marinade, but both can work. I've already destemmed and deveined these chilies. We're going to put all of these ingredients, but for the olive oil, vinegar and gin, we're going to put all of these ingredients into the grinder, make a fine paste, and at the end I will add these 3 liquids and give it a little bit of a whiz. We do not want to over grind it. Before you deseed and devein these chilies, I would recommend that you put oil on your hands or you wear a pair of rubber gloves, surgical gloves. Now you're going to put all the ingredients together in the mixing bowl. The bay leaf powder. I've already added the boiled lime. I've removed the seeds. The peppercorn's already gone in there. Garlic cloves. The onions, the juice and zest of 1 lemon, the peri-peri chilies, the sweet chilies, rosemary, thyme, cayenne pepper and smoked paprika. You'll want to put a little extra smoked paprika. And rock salt. The rock salt is not to season the chicken, it is only meant to bring out the flavors of all the ingredients in the marinade. Now we're going to give it a mix. Once it is ground and fine puree is formed, that is when I will add in the liquids, which is the olive oil, the vinegar and the gin. The reason I put it at the end, I do not want to overgrind the olive oil as it will split. So once it is done, we'll put it at the end and just give it a light mix. So we will see you at the other end once I have ground this up. Thank you. Now that we've got a fine paste, I'm going to add in all the gin, the red wine vinegar, and the olive oil. I am going to list all the quantities below, but just mind you, the amount of vinegar you put in could vary depending on the pungency of the chilies, because the pungency of the chilies can vary from region to region. Also, the potency of the vinegar itself will vary. So I will give you the list of ingredients and the amounts to be used, but you have to use a little bit of common sense and adjust your flavors. Now that we got our marinade ready, all that is left is for me to transfer it into a clean glass bowl. Make sure there's no water in it. What I do is I put a little bit of olive oil at the bottom, swirl it around in the bottle, then I put in my marinade and I top it with about a tablespoon of olive oil again, and that creates a vacuum seal over the top. And this marinade is good for about 3 to 4 weeks in the fridge. Now some key notes to take care of is when you marinate your chicken, I recommend 12 hours, but a minimum of 2 hours. The skin of the chicken, you need to lightly open it and put the marinade underneath the skin as well as over the skin. The second is we will use rock salt to season the chicken, but we will season it just before grilling it. If you season it in advance, what will happen is you'll find a lot of fluid coming out of the chicken, and that will make the chicken a little tough when you cook it. And so when you put it right at the end, it also helps the skin crisp up and retain all of its juices. You can grill it or you can bake it. I bake it in a tray. Also, what I recommend is putting some parchment paper at the bottom, baking your chicken for about 20 minutes skin side down, and then you finish it baking it skin side up. Also, I recommend basting your chicken every 10 to 12 minutes. Usually I bake my chicken for an hour 10 minutes. You do not require that much of time to cook the chicken, but for the skin to get a nice crisp layer and nearly merge into the flesh of the chicken itself, I recommend baking it for that amount of time. In my next video, I'm going to be showing you how to marinate the chicken as well as bake it. This amount of marinade will do for about, say, between 4 to 5 chickens, depending of course how big your chickens are. Okay, so we'll see you next time on my next video when we bake this chicken. If you like my recipe, which I'm sure you will, do give us a thumbs up, and do tune in for my next video on how to cook the peri peri chicken. Thank you. Bye bye.